Welcome to Biz Lounge, where we'll give you a peek into the minds and souls of some of the greatest business leaders. Ford's entry into the country in 1996 started as a test drive as it sought its way to find a place in the Indian market. 15 years later, the company is changing lanes, reinventing itself from being a niche player to an automaker for the masses. Our guest today is the man who leads Ford in India, Michael Boneham. Michael, thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Before
we begin our chat, we'll take a look at how the American automaker is trying to win the race to the top. Henry Ford, founder of the Ford Motor Company, produced the Model T in 1908, making it the first affordable car for middle-class Americans. Fast forward a century, where in India, the company is looking to fulfill the same vision. Ford's small wonder Figo, launched in 2010, changed the fortunes of the company in India. Although Ford set up shop in India in 1996, the company struggled to get a foothold in the market, selling just 6 passenger car models, out of which 4 had to be discontinued because of poor sales.
The focus in India and China really took a huge step forward in 2006, 2007 timeframe. That's when Alan Mulally had joined us, as the head of the Ford Motor Company in Detroit. And we're looking at APA, Asia Pacific and Africa, contributing 30% of the overall sales for Ford Motor Company in the next few years' time. So the plans are huge.
2010 was a major turnaround year for Ford, and also the year that Michael took over India operations. Sales tripled to about 84,000 units in that year, from approximately 29,000 in the previous year, all thanks to the Figo.
Today, the car penetration in India is only about 24-25 cars per 1,000 people. You compare that to a China, which is at about 75 to 1,000 people. You compare that to a Brazil, which is considered to be a sister country of India. That's about 150 cars to 1,000 people. North America has 900 cars to 1,000 people. So it just tells you that the headroom that is available for people to grow in a market like India and China is phenomenal.
But it's not the end of the road for Ford in India. Although the company faces stiff competition and low market share, it remains optimistic as the number of vehicles in the country is expected to more than double by mid-decade. Okay, Michael, so you're planning on launching 8 new models by 2015. Tell us about these models and what their expected price points are going to be.
Well, most of the business here in India, 70% of all cars sold are in the small car segment, sub 4 metres. That's where people will be purchasing vehicles, and that's where we're going to be. And we want to be a volume player, not an interesting niche player.
Can you talk a little bit about the price points?
Within that segment, obviously there's a range from the sub B, which you can get anything from 2.7 lakh through for the diesels and the high-end diesels up to 7.5 or so.
And how many of these variants will be produced locally?
All of them. That's part of the reason why we've got $1 billion invested in Chennai. We've announced last year another $1 billion to be invested in Gujarat. That'll be for both vehicles and engines. We'll look if there's some interesting niche segments at high end that we want to be in. Then that'll be an assessment as to what makes sense, either importing or producing.
And you have spent a lot of money on these plans in Tamil Nadu and Gujarat. Are you planning on making India a major export hub?
Yeah, great question. I think when we looked at our strategy before we defined our path, we really understood that you have to have both a focus on the domestic as well as the export market here. You need volume and scale. And to have that volume and scale, you just can't depend on one market. So already with the Figo, we're exporting to some 38 different countries, 50 by the end of this year. Importantly though, engines are a big export strategy for us as well. We're exporting about 40% of our engines we're producing in Chennai to places like Thailand and other Asia-Pacific markets.
Okay, and your much talked about EcoSport, your compact SUV, is being delayed by a year till 2013. Can you tell us why?
Well, essentially, we never really intended to get it out in 2012. What we did, we had Alan Mullally over here for the Delhi Auto Show. We displayed the exterior here. We did an interior reveal in Beijing because this vehicle is one of our global vehicles. One of our commitments to India is every vehicle, every one of those 8 will be a global platform. So it will be early 2013. That actually follows our sequence, our plan, but obviously because we revealed so early, there's a perception of, well, they revealed and why did they then not launch much quicker? And we believe we're going to, when we do actually get out there, it's going to be another game changer for us, just like Figo was.
The perception was that it would be launched by 2012.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was a fear that perhaps you might lose a competitive advantage by delaying it because so many of your competitors are also going to be launching cars in a similar segment.
And you're right. I mean, that segment is, the competition are starting to look at it just like we have. I've seen a couple of launches recently in that segment, similar, not quite the same, go very well. And all that does is encourage us for the EcoSport. That makes us feel very confident that when we get out there with the product, it's going to be a great winner for us.
Also, Ford came into the country at a time when the auto sector wasn't very crowded, yet 15 years later, it still has a very small percentage of the market. Yeah. Why do you think that Ford wasn't able to cash in on the early mover advantage?
Well, I think we just, I'm going to be quite frank, didn't have the focus on India that we needed to. And what we needed to do was define a better plan, a strategy for India effectively. Now, 5 years ago, we took that approach. We looked at the products we were bringing in, and I don't think we were listening to the Indian consumer well enough. We thought we knew what they wanted. Now, we've gone through a lot of self-analysis and then, but more importantly, analysis with the consumer, what their needs are here, what their expectations are. And I think we did a great job with Figo in terms of research and understanding the consumer and ensuring that we were positioning that product perfectly, and the results tell the story. Really, really great. And we've followed that model now, and we will be following that model for all of the products we bring in to India and produce here. We have to, otherwise we're not going to be successful. The one resounding item and learning I've found myself here in India is Indians want value, not cheap. Want value. If they can see value, they will purchase the product.
Okay, great. Time for a quick break, but when we get back, we take a look at how Mike gets behind the wheel to lead an organization of 10,000 employees.